that as working parents, I have fallen asleep in many, many places. I've fallen asleep in the car. I was literally waiting for it to pick my daughter up from school yesterday. And you know what I did? I brought a book with me, which is always a no. I just get really
Yeah,
sleepy
because your
reading.
eyes kind of get tired. And
But it's also because we don't stop. We don't stop, Kim. We do this show. You do 2 more shows doing news for that. And it just, between prep time, house care, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We burn it at both ends. We burned it when we worked in San Francisco. We're burning it when we're doing it here. Well, let's get some help. Are you ready? Are you ready to
Yes,
get
please.
some help?
Thank you. Bring me the help.
I would like to welcome to the Nikki Medoro Show Allegra and Natasha, who created Beyond Your Wildest Dreams.
Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
Well,
I love the news pieces you covered.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we done, just to give you guys a little bit of background. Kim and myself, we used to do a morning show in San Francisco on traditional radio. When it flipped formats, we moved it here.
Yeah.
But we used to do a morning show that started. What time did we had to get there at like 5 o'clock in the morning, right? The show was on like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So we know early. We both are mothers of 2 young kids, and when I saw the show that you guys put on and the books that you guys write, I was like, this is right up our alley. So just to give a little bit of background, Natasha and Allegra have written 2 books. One's called Rock Your Morning and another one's called 3, 2, 1 Done. And Allegra, let's start with you. What made you want to kind of, I guess, focus on helping other people? I'm assuming it's women, mothers and fathers, to kind of get, I don't know, their S together.
Well, it all happened very organically, right? I don't know about you, but I'm 49 and my life has kind of been like, that's not right. That's not quite right. Oh, this is getting warmer. Ding, ding, ding. I'm here. And Natasha and I recently discovered something called Ikigai, which I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a Japanese concept called a reason for being. And if I had known Ikigai earlier, and I don't know if it would have helped me because I don't know if I was self-reflective enough, but the Ikigai exercise is really helpful. Like when I map all the things I'm interested in onto Ikigai, BYWD is the obvious fit. But really it happened.
Can I stop you? How do you spell Ikigai? Just to let people know. I'm writing down notes.
Yeah, IKI, GAI. And once a week we do a live, and 2 or 3 weeks ago we talked all about Ikigai. And I gave my own twist on it because I feel like some of the interpretations are poor translations of Japanese or something. So you can watch it there. But really it started organically, which is a handful of years ago. Natasha said to me, Allegra, I don't understand how you homeschool your child, have your own business, and manage to spend a month in Oaxaca. And I said, planning, because, that's just kind of how I think. And she said, well, I'm a good planner, but there's some things that I've been backburnering that you seem to be able to make progress on. And so I kind of informally was coaching her. And then I was also informally coaching a few other people. And what I realized doing that coaching was that it's not the tools that we need, right? Like I have a planner right in front of me that I'm looking at. I love a good planner, but what was missing was the thought process involved to figure out how to plan when life is constantly changing that people really needed. And so through coaching Natasha and some other people, I came up with a 6-step process. And by the way, I don't know if you're into Myers-Briggs, but I'm an ENFJ.
Okay.
And one of the defining characteristics of ENFJs is that we like to figure out systems and we want to know how to do things better and faster and more effectively. And that was it was interesting watching myself come up with this 6-step curriculum to help people learn how to be better planners so that they could respond to things. And I'll let Natasha tell her part of the story.
Yeah, Natasha, I want to hear, so obviously you've been working with Allegra, and now you literally work with Allegra.
Right.
Can we start with what do you think you were doing wrong? Like, what was going wrong that you're like, I'm looking at Allegra, she's doing something right. What were you doing wrong? Because I'm sure many of us can relate to that.
Yeah, I was just kind of like taking life as it came, right? So it was felt almost like I was constantly in emergency mode, you know what I mean? And, often as caregivers, quite honestly, the woman or the mom in a caregiving situation, whether it's for younger kids or old elderly parents or something, if an emergency comes up or some kind of unplanned thing comes up, we take on that load, right? And so as the mom, and so I was just taking life as it came. And like we mentioned, I'm great at like planning contained events, like birthday parties. I'd have summits for my other businesses, that kind of thing. Like anything that was like contained, had a specific date, end date. Like I have a theater background, so it's always like opening day. You know what I mean? Like I can always opening night. You know what I mean? So this kind of thought process of like, oh my gosh, there's a hard, fast deadline, and you better get it together by then. That was fine, but then you're constantly like, I feel like I'm like running on adrenal fatigue. You know what I mean? Just kind of like taking life as it came. So that's what I was doing wrong. I was just kind of like taking things, you know, day by day as they would come up, as opposed to kind of having like a longer, you know, like just a longer vision, like just seeing like a bigger or longer end game. And quite honestly, you know, like Allegra and I, we're in a stage right now where our kids are a little bit older. They're finally in the double digits. You know what I mean? Like, so this is not necessarily a thing for like, you know, you got a brand new infant, you know what I mean? Or something like that. And you're trying to balance your work. And we were in a slightly different area of where I finally felt like I could come up for air. I wasn't wiping butts every day. And I was like, what's happening? You know, like, and I just felt like I was just kind of on my back foot, backpedaling, or like Allegra said, I was taking the things that maybe I was wanting to accomplish and just continuously backburnering it because, you know, things are coming up. Oh, I set this time for myself to, you know, explore how to, I don't know, create a blog or whatever. Let's just say, right? Oh, but the kids just spilled milk and the dog is, you know, that kind of stuff. So Allegra really kind of helped me see where those areas where you could put in a plan, where you could go ahead and carve out some time. And how important that was. Because that's the other thing too, is quite honestly like a shift in mindset too, where everybody else's needs are more important than mine in those moments.
Yeah, that's typical.
It's a shift in mindset, really more so than honestly, that probably is the most important thing. First is just like, and I was just speaking with Allegra. It's not so much like we're on this journey with our students. We're on this journey with the people who are taking our courses with them. Because like, I am certainly not perfect at, you know, putting myself first or putting my own self-care.
Which is very typical of moms, right? It's like everybody else's needs before our own. And I mean, Kim and I, we both have kids in the double digits. But, you know, it might be better than wiping butts, but then you have a million different schedules, not just your schedule, not just your partner, if you have one schedule.
Activities
is what drives me nuts.
You're going to karate. You're going to piano lessons.
It's an A schedule this day, and it's a B schedule this day. And then I get an orthodontist appointment over there. And it's hard. So let's get into the nuts and bolts. What are the 6 things, Allegra, that people should keep in mind to get their life, I guess, under control, and not the day-to-day kind of craziness?
So the 6 steps, we outline those in our course, Harness the Power of Planning. And I don't know that I can explain them here in this format, but let me just back up a little bit, because our 2 books, right, Rock Your Morning and 3, 2, 1 Done, we talk about similar concepts, but these are sprints versus marathons, right? Harness the Power of Planning is about life, living an intentional life by design rather than by accident. Rock Your Morning is about an intentional morning. So it's similar skills, but it's just a much shorter race, if you will. And then same thing with 3, 2, 1 Done. This is all about productivity for your, you know, to-do list. But we talk about things like time blocking, which is an amazing skill. And it's something that you use to, you know, design your life beyond your wildest dreams. But we use it in the smaller format, right, of an activity list. So let me just explain one thing. I just want to say that, you know, in Western culture, moms, we're kind of encouraged to sacrifice ourselves on the altars of our families. You know, we're kind of applauded, like, oh, look at that mom, and she gave so much.
Not applauded enough, in my opinion, but yeah.
Are you saying there's some other way to do it besides that? I mean, there's
yes,
really.
Yeah,
I had never considered this.
Seriously, it's right. So it's a total just now kind of coming out of this fog of like, I need to be super mom to get it all done. And then there is a lot of praise for that too, right? For being super mom.
Yeah.
But like the shift of like, I'm like, but in order to be super mom, my alter ego, the who I am has gotten to be, you know, like sacrificed, like
Mhm.
like I said, you know.
Well,
So
and the thing is right, is that it leads to a super you just end up super unhealthy, which
And
I
mad.
yes, or resentful. That's what we say. You're either unhealthy or you're resentful. Neither are nice places to be, right? You don't want to hate your family, and I feel like that's something we don't talk about. Like moms don't hate.
When they have to do everything they do. When I get pissed off because I have to clean the kitchen again because nobody can put anything away but me, apparently. Yes.
Exactly. Or just super unhealthy. I mean, 2 books that I read recently that I think every woman needs to read is XX Brain, which is about the fact that women are diagnosed with Alzheimer's at a 2-to-1 ratio as men, and we're more likely to get Alzheimer's than breast cancer, and Outlive, which is about living a quality life, not just a long life. And both of them point to women and hormones and lack of sleep as major drivers for Alzheimer's and general poor health. And honestly, it's really those 2 books will scare you straight, if you will, right? They're gonna be like, damn it, kids, I need to sleep because you don't want to take care of me when I have Alzheimer's. Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention Pay Up, the other book, Pay Up, which really talks about like also just the unsustainability of American motherhood and how society really has been, you know, riding on the backs of
free labor,
the free labor and the catch-all of all of these different, you know, social safety nets. Basically, the mom is like this social, XX Brain, excellent book.
The time blocking,
Yes.
I find very interesting. I tried to do this a few years ago where I was telling my husband, you know, we waste so much time. I think all of us waste so much time. And I give myself an excuse for wasting time. Oh, I've been working nonstop since I woke up this morning, getting the kids to school, putting on this daily show, you know, editing whatever I need to do, prepping for tomorrow's show, that I deserve to sit on my chair and scroll social media or veg out on whatever. But then I'm also feeling like, God, I didn't do anything today. Right? Like I didn't do anything I wanted to do beyond work and kids. What are the best ways of time block? Can we just kind of talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about
finding out how to plug things in that we want to do.
Let's give you a little, like basically a mini course of 3, 2, 1 done. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we go through the 3 mistakes. So mistake number 1 that everyone makes when it comes to your to-do list is, we have our whole shtick, Natasha.
Is putting on every single thing that you absolutely have to do that day. And I'm talking about like, and this used to be me, and maybe this is you, and all of these mistakes, like I've made them a million times over, where it's like, oh, I'm going to make my to-do list. I'm going to put down, you know, the thing that I want to do, like, you know, write an entry into for my newsletter, and brush my teeth and walk the dog. And things that I'm going to do anyway, like things that I'm absolutely going to do anyway, because it feels good, right?
To
write that down. Yeah, exactly. I would even put things down that I had already done. Like if I had
that counts.
You know, I would put it down because like, hey, you know, it needed to get done and it got done, right? And
making list.
Why can't you have credit for those things you've already accomplished?
Okay,
come on.
That's a great question, Kim. Great question.
I'm gonna go grab an example over here. Go ahead. Yes.
So great question. So here's the thing: when you write your to-do list, it feels good because you're getting a hit of dopamine. We're huge brain science nerds. We bring everything back to the brain science, and that dopamine can be counterproductive because you're like, "Wow, look at how much I accomplished." I'm just going to sit back now and not do anything else.
And you don't get to sitting down and writing the chapter of your book or, you know, or researching how, you know, whatever it is that you're looking, the bigger picture goal stuff, because you're just flooded with dopamine. You're like, you can't stop patting yourself on the back and you feel like you've accomplished something. But when it gets down to it, that dopamine flood has then made you feel like you've gotten a lot done. And so we're really, that first mistake of putting everything down. So we really recommend that you don't put anything down that you're going to do regularly. Like, I'm going to walk the dog because the dog has to poop. So it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like that's going to happen. And if I don't do it, he's going to come over and let me know, or I'm going to have to clean up poop in the living room. So, you know, so then that doesn't go on my to-do list anymore. Plus the other thing, the side, aside from the dopamine hit, if you go ahead and put every single thing down too, it can be counterproductive in another way where it just feels like overwhelming. You're like, oh my God, I have 50 things to do today, right?
Right.
It's like a third or 2/3 of that are things that you're already going to do, or it takes 2 minutes or less, right?
Right. So like, here's what a list might look like, right? Totally random. Thank you cards, walk the dog, whatever. But if you don't put on anything that you're going to do regularly, and you don't put on anything that takes 2 minutes or less, that's the 2-minute rule, which some other productivity expert came up with decades ago, which is if it takes 2 minutes or less, just do it. Because it's going to take you more time to write it down and remember to do it than to just do it. So for instance, on this list, I need to confirm a hair appointment. Right? That's just a text. I just need to send a simple text that takes less than 2 minutes. So you see, this is what the list looks like once you remove everything that is regularly or 2 minutes. You see it's half. It's in half. And that is a lot more doable list, right? You just feel calmer, like, oh my gosh, I don't have that much to do. And you haven't flooded your brain with dopamine, which can be addictive, by the way, where people are
we're seeking that, right? We're seeking
social media and the likes and everything are so powerful and we spend too much time on it. Yeah.
So then mistake number 2 is randomly tackling your to-dos, right? Like you write these random lists, and if you go from writing that thank you card to Carolyn to painting the kitchen cabinets, that's going to be a really random day.
Yeah.
Okay. So tip number 2 is to identify shallow versus deep tasks. Okay. And we define deep and shallow as a deep task is tasks that are mentally intense, require focused attention, or have critical deadlines. Shallow are tasks that don't require you to be focused, aren't time sensitive, or even tasks that you consider relaxing. Right. So when you go through that list and you identify deep versus shallow, you see there's only 2 deep tasks on here. So once again, you think, oh, this actually not that hard a list. I only have 2 things I really need to focus on. The rest of the things are fun or kind of mindless things. Okay. And so the deep and shallow is really where time blocking then comes in, right? So tip number 3 is not making time or thinking, oh, I'll just fit it in somewhere. You're never going to fit it in anywhere. You need to fit it in when you look at the list and you say, this is shallow. I have a shallow period right after lunch on Monday at 12:30. I'm writing it into my planner at that time.
Right. So I have an example of our, and now hopefully you can see it here. I'm not sure. This is like an example of our sample daily time blocking sheet.
Okay.
So you can see how, like, I haven't filled this in because I literally just printed it up just for an example here, but like you can put in your to-dos here. And then you can literally block out times over here, right? So this doesn't look too different than like a Google Calendar, right? But maybe in your Google Calendar, you're not going to, you can absolutely use your Google Calendar in this same way. But for me, so you may have a planner and you can time block in your planner. But for like this Saturday, we have a home project that needs to get done. If I don't time block my Saturday, it's going to be 3 p.m. before everybody kind of like, and I'll randomly do something here and I'll randomly do something there and I'll try to get everybody on board, or, mostly it's going to be, we're going to need to purge a bunch of stuff before we can go into the next phase of this home project. We're, doing a little home remodel thing. If I don't time block that day, if I don't go 10 to, 9 to 9:30 breakfast, blah, blah, blah. If I don't put that in here, that day is, next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock and it's like, where has the day gone? And maybe I've gotten a few things done here and there. And it's not so much about like being on schedule. You must be on schedule. But, there's a thing at 3 o'clock on Saturday that I have to do. So I need to build a time block around it. When I time block my day, it's not so much about like, again, being on schedule as much as it is going like, here is the allotted time I have.
About making time for things.
Right.
Yeah.
That's mistake number 3 is not making the time for it. So yes, it's on the to-do list, but does it take 90 minutes or does it take 30 minutes?
Right.
Or 2 hours plus time blocking in breaks too.
So you see, when you're done with that to-do list, you know it's deep and shallow and you've assigned a day and a time for things. And some things might require multiple days, right? Like for instance, when you're working on an automation is when you sign up for an email list and you automatically start getting emails. That takes multiple days. And honestly, you need time in between it to let your brain rest and look at it with new eyes. So for that, I built in, I'm doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. until it's done, right? It's ongoing. The other thing too is we recommend that people find out what their chronotype is, which A chronotype is, and maybe Natasha, I don't know if you can find the URL for the chronotype quiz, but a chronotype, there are basically 4 different types. And while you can switch around during your lifetime, for most of your adult years, you're one chronotype. And I'm the lion chronotype, which means I wake up early and I'm best in the morning, and then I kind of peter out as the day goes on. That can help you determine when you're most creative for your deep work. Right. So for instance, I do my deep work. I always schedule my deep work early in the morning because that's the best time. I can write 3 times faster in the morning than I write at night. Why would I spend 3 hours on something that I can do at 1 hour in the morning? So 3, 2, 1 done is about being strategic with your to-do list, approaching it with a framework rather than, I don't know, I'll just fit it in whenever I can.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what so many of us do, right?
Right. I don't even have a to-do list. I mean, you guys are going to be shocked at my utter disorganization. It's in my head. I kind of lay it at night before I go to sleep. That's if I don't fall asleep in a chair like last night. But I lay in bed and I think, okay, and it's a day-by-day thing. Like I can only take one day at a time. Otherwise, it's too overwhelming. So it's like, okay, what are the things I have to do tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow's piano day after school. Tomorrow's this. So it's a mental checklist of all the things I have. But the way you're talking about doing it is like, you guys are going to whip me into shape. I'm going to have so much time to do everything.
There you go.
Honestly, so we talk about like often people think, oh, wow, so now you have to be a really big taskmaster. It's not about that per se. It really is about, like, for me personally, if I am like you, like I sometimes like to plan forward, as I said earlier, if it's got a hard deadline, I'm all about it. But if I don't, for me, it just rolls around in my brain and just causes so much conflama in there if I don't write it down. So
is that a technical term, conflama?
So, yeah. It sounds exactly what it is. You know,
one of the symptoms of menopause. Just fully in it. If I don't, I like to say that, like, when we put it on the to-do list, it puts it in space. It takes it out of my brain and puts it in space for me. And then when I take that and time block it, it puts it in time. So the task is in time and space, and I am 10 times more likely to get it done. Because the other thing I would do with these time, because I was always a list maker, because like I am so afraid I'm going to forget stuff, because I just am, my brain's differently wired. And I can have a thought, and then 30 seconds later, I'll be like, what was that? You know what I mean? Like, so I really am like shiny object, So if I am, so this is a little caveat too about the 2-minute rule. A lot of times I'll be in with a client, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to book that airline ticket, and I have to write it down. So like, I do write down things that take less than 2 minutes, only because if I do not write it down, it just leaves existence, and a week go by, and I'll be like, did I ever do that thing? So that's the little caveat with the 2-minute. But then as soon as I have time to do it, just get it done.
Get it done. Yeah. And I think that's the most important message is that we need to really, prioritize not only our tasks so we know when to get them done and like the deep and the shallow, like you were saying, but prioritize ourselves. Natasha and Allegra, again, here are their books. Check them out. Rock Your Morning. 3 simple steps to take control of your morning. Also, 3, 2, 1 done. 3 simple strategies to get your to-do list done. I'm going to be checking out XX Brain, Outlive, and Pay Up. And Ikigai. I got to look up Ikigai right when we get off there right now. We're going to look that up. I appreciate you ladies coming on with us. I'd love to have you back on with more tips and tricks, because I know so many people that watch our show are running out of time in the day. Kim,
clearly,
we always run out of time.
I'm in need of major assistance. It's true. So thank you for coming to help me.
Thank you guys so much. Allegra and Natasha, again, it's BYW Dreams, Beyond Your Wildest Dreams.com. I put it in the show notes, so you guys just need to click there and you'll get the link. And I appreciate you ladies coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Have a great day.